Hey, what's up? Doug Cunnington here from Niche Site Project. In this live stream, I'm going to talk about a Tim Ferriss blog post and podcast episode that I found super helpful. I really enjoyed it back when I heard it years ago, and it's about productivity. So I've been talking a lot about productivity in the last couple weeks, a few blog posts on it, and a few live streams too. So if people are on here live, I welcome you. Thanks for hopping on live. I appreciate the support. Um, Let me know if you could hear me. That's always good to know. I see we got Jeff on, a few other folks, and I'll hop over there in a second. Now, in this blog post that Tim published in 2013, it was back in November. It was called let me get it right here. So, productivity tricks for the neurotic, manic-depressive, and crazy, and like me. So that's Tim's words there, and he talked about how you know he's a little nuts, right? He's not perfect. He does the best he can, and he takes us through how he's struggled through a few different areas, and I can give you some highlights in a second. And then he also mentions some great successes, some huge productivity milestones, which I'll get to as well. And then he sort of mentions and lets everyone know that he's not perfect, right? He struggles like everyone else, and he has an 8-step sort of coping mechanism to deal with it and make it through the day in a productive type way. So, and I see we got some folks on. We have Jeff and Dennis and Kent. Hey everyone, and Nick also. So I'm going to highlight a couple of the things that Tim mentions, and then of course I'm going to put my own spin on it. Tim has his own commentary and stuff on this process that he has, and I took what I liked and applied it to my own way. So, a couple things that Tim mentions is he talks about sort of the bad stuff, like the parts that you don't see, but he struggles like everyone else. So he said he cried while watching Rudy. He repeatedly hit snooze for 1 to 3 hours past his planned wake up time. He said he considered giving everything away and moving to some other city, Montreal, Seville, or Iceland. And he saw a therapist, and he was convinced that he was doomed to a long life of pessimism. Again, this is back in 2013 when he published this. And he says he's taken his daily caffeine intake so high that his resting pulse was 120 beats per minute, and that was like 8 to 10 cups of coffee per day at a minimum, as I am drinking some coffee right now. Although I'm cutting back, by the way, I'm cutting back on my coffee. And I see Lachey's on also. So I know it could be the first time some folks are watching me today. I talk a lot, so I'm going to pause here for a second before we move on to the next section. So my name is Doug Cunnington. I focus on Amazon affiliate niche sites and internet marketing. I also talk about project management and productivity like I am today. And you can check out my blog at Niche Site Project if you're interested. There's a lot of free material. There's tons of free material. If you're watching YouTube, you obviously like YouTube also. I have a YouTube channel where I focus hugely on the Amazon affiliate portion. There's hours and hours of material there, free training. I think a lot of the free material that I have on my YouTube channel is much better than paid courses out there if you just take the time to watch the videos. And I encourage you to watch them at 2x speed, get through them a little bit faster. So getting back to Tim's blog post here. So he's not perfect, right? We see the successes out front, but we don't hear about, his lifelong pessimism and I guess drinking so much caffeine, although, on his podcast, he does mention this stuff. He says it seems pretty dysfunctional, but then he jumps into the portion where he's done really well, right? So he says in the last 8 weeks, he bought his dream house. He's increased his passive income by 20%. He's been meditating more. He's cut his caffeine intake. He's raised money for charity, and so on and so forth. So he's doing well, despite the fact that he struggles just like everyone else. And by the way, just curious if people in the chat, people that are watching live, have you guys read this blog post or seen the or watched the podcast rather? Just curious if people have been exposed to this before. So now I'm going to take you through the process that Tim tells us that he does. So he says he's not really good at efficiency, which is a good point right now for me to give you the definition. So you have efficiency and then you have effectiveness. And efficiency is doing things quickly, getting a lot of things done fast, like say sending a bunch of emails out, right? If you could do that fast, you're a fast typer, great. That's efficient. Being effective is getting things done that are actually the right things, right? Things that bring you closer to your goal. So it's very easy to become obsessed with efficiency, trying to send a lot of emails, doing busy work, doing paperwork versus being effective and picking those things that may be hard to do, sort of ill-defined, um, difficult to process and unstructured. Those things that get you closer to your goal, those are harder to do. And here is sort of how Tim copes with it. So it's 8 steps. I'm going to go through the high points here. So number one, wake up an hour before you have to be at the computer screen. Number two, make a cup of tea. He makes pu-erh tea, and he sits down with a pen and paper. He writes 3 to 5 things and no more that are making him anxious or uncomfortable. So a lot of times those are things that have been moving from one day's to-do list to the next, and so on. And he mentions, as a good rule of thumb, the most important things are usually the most uncomfortable, with some chance of rejection or conflict. And my thing that I can add is a lot of times those are those are unstructured. We don't like to do them because they're unstructured. They're going to take a long time. And I mean, for me, I'll talk about it more in a second, but for me, it may take 10, 15, 45 minutes for me to like get in the right mind frame to actually do the work that I need to do that may take 90 minutes. So it's a long warm up time, but if you're running a marathon, right? Like you warm up a little bit. You don't just wake up out of bed and start running. So moving on, step 4, Tim asks himself, um, he asks himself for each item, if this were the only thing I accomplished today, would I be satisfied with my day? And will moving this forward make all other to-dos unimportant or easier to knock off later? So ask that for each of the 3 to 5 things that you write down. Next, number 5, look at the items you've answered yes to at least one of those questions. Number 6, block out 2 to 3 hours to focus on one of them for today, just one. So he says, let the rest of the urgent but less important stuff sit aside, let it slide. And he says, number 7, to be clear, block out 2 to 3 hours and focus on one item for today. You can't put together 10 minutes here and there to add up to 120 minutes and just like get the same benefit. You really have to have the block of time. Agree with that 100%. And last, number 8, if you get distracted or start procrastinating, don't freak out and go into a downward spiral. Just get back to work and get back to the one thing that you're working on. Okay. And the big thing, that he's doing is getting you to focus on, the one hopefully most important item that you have, right? Focus on the one thing that's going to help move things forward and make the biggest difference. And the pieces that I take away, because there's some stuff in there that is good for routine, but isn't necessary for everyone, where you should maybe substitute your own portion of the routine in. So for me, right, I sort of narrowed it down and refined it a little bit further. And I'm going to cough here in a second, so I'm going to mute. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so to narrow it down to a 3-step process in which you could pepper in your other, routines, however you want to deal with it. This is what I recommend. So pick 1 to 2 things to work on first thing in the morning. I'll give you all the caveats afterwards. So this is what I do. Pick 1 to 2 things to work on first thing in the morning. Preferably, right, you're choosing this either the night before or days before. So if you're into sort of a weekly planning process, then sure, you can sort of plan that out a little bit ahead of time, kind of know what you're going to work on. Of course, at the end of each day, that could shift a little bit. So the point is pick 1 to 2 things to work on. I'm giving you a little more flexibility than, Tim there. Number two, avoid email and social media or fill in your other distractors, right? So for me, email and social media, that'll slow me down in the morning, get me distracted. If if you love watching the news in the morning for some reason, avoid that. It gets you distracted. It's not a great thing to do. If you need to do something else, right? Here are a couple of great things. Read a book, right? So read a little bit of a book that is by far way higher quality than a blog post. On average, right? Some bloggers are fantastic and they happen to write books also. But in general, there's way more poor, unedited, just not as high quality, untested blog post. So if you can avoid just that portion, like whatever is distracting you, avoid it. So if you could read a book, that's great. If you can go for a walk or exercise, whatever exercise you want to do that, right? So it could be some walking, it could be running, it could be yoga, it could be meditation or just some sort of guided breathing, whatever you want to do. But the point is to avoid distractions that sort of get you off track. And to, if you need inputs, walking outside is a good one where the inputs are just, absorbing your surroundings, or a book that is well written, that has been edited and published and printed, not some blog post. Like, I mean, I published them too, right? But not a blog post where someone could write it that day, publish it, and it, may not be that great. And then number three, the most important part, work for at least 90 minutes and go longer. Me personally, if you're in the zone and I hit the 90-minute period, I work past it, go for another 30 minutes, go for another hour and a half if you have the energy, right? If I'm really well rested, which I have been more lately, if I'm really well rested, then I could work for longer periods. One thing to note, I do take short 5 to 10 minute breaks, probably once an hour, to just get up from my desk, stretch my legs, go grab some water, more coffee, whatever, but just to, get up and stop staring at the screen for a few minutes. So again, I pepper in other things. So I put in, the three main ideas: know what you're going to work on, avoid distractions, and then work at least for 90 minutes up to, 3 hours or so, depending on what the task is. This is really hard to do every day. If I could do this 3 days a week, that's fantastic. There are some days where I get up and I check email and I need to answer a bunch of emails because I can batch that. And, on the right day, I could blast through the emails, and it's not, in most cases, it's not moving the business forward, but it is interesting. It is interesting. So that is how I put it together. I see a couple of questions out there. Okay, so any questions on the topic? And let's see. So we have someone, Utah says, can I please suggest a domain name? Okay, so Friday is the Q&A day. So if you want me to answer your question, if you just leave it in the comments, right? So leave it in the comments for this video, and I'll answer it. And I'll answer these shortly in a very brief manner. You could pick a domain name. It doesn't matter what it is. Just pick one. Super easy. Lachey says, I plan on writing about 80 keyword golden ratio articles over the next 3 to 4 months. Do you think I should be focused more on effectiveness or efficiency? Let's see. I think in this case, a blend, right? It's like if you have a specific target, 80 over a specific time frame, then like you should make it as high quality as you can. But I mean, if you are giving yourself those constraints, then you already know what you need to work on. So, I'm not sure the right answer on that. It comes into play because what you're talking about is you know, a project over a period of time where you're delivering specific output that you've already determined. So that should be fairly straightforward. And there are little pieces here and there. The key would be not to get bogged down in the sort of meaningless tasks of that process. So I don't know what they would be exactly, but I can give you a little example just off the top of my head. If you have your 80 keywords already, then don't touch keyword research again until you have all your like content published. The point being, if you've already finished a piece of work, a lot of times people will keep doing keyword research because it's kind of fun, or I don't think it's fun, but people will do it because it's an activity that they can, do. And it feels productive, but really it's just busy. So if you already have your keywords, or if you already have like, all your writers in place, then focus on everything after that. So don't waste your time on stuff you've already done. Dennis says, list tasks on the day for the whiteboard, first task of the day. Great. And Suhail says, when does the course open up again? Okay, so what course are you talking about? Five-figure niche site? That'll open again in January. I have a productivity course coming out. It'll open for enrollment, very limited enrollment next Monday. So it'll be a much more economic choice versus the five-figure niche site. I mean, it's different topics, right? So this productivity course is about productivity, hence the topic today. And yeah, so it'll be very limited though. I'm only going to let in a very small number of people. So it's not like, some people are developing courses to get, a huge payday. I'm trying to develop really good material. So I'm only letting people in that are going to do the work. They're going to, follow through and go through everything. So Nick says, do I have any tasks that I do every single day without fail, or do I tackle things more in sprints based on the day of the week? So I don't have, I probably always reply to my support email for my customers. Always do that. And I kind of I wouldn't do sprints based on the day of the week, but I batch my work based on, I guess, what is going on. So leading up to like the course launch, I'm working a lot on the course material, any marketing materials that may be related, but mostly on the course material. There's a tremendous amount of work in putting together a course. That is the part that people don't tell you about courses. Okay. And then another question from Utah about affiliate marketing. Do I think affiliate marketing has future scope? Yes. Um, and then the note is, I feel like people are going for cashback sites more these days. Okay. Interesting. All right. And let's see. Suhal says, what are the prices for both of my courses? So this, I don't talk about the prices usually in any videos or anything like that, because the prices could change in the future. In fact, they do often. The five-figure niche site course, again, it doesn't come out till January, so you'll have plenty of time to look at that. The course next week is going to be under $100. I can tell you that. All right. Any other questions or thoughts on, productivity? Or it's really awesome when the questions are about the topic. And I'll mention that Friday, I do just general Q&A, so you can ask random questions that have nothing to do with whatever. I saw some chatter about crypto. What did Nick say? Sell all your niche sites and become a crypto trader. I don't know anything about that. I've completely 100% ignored any sort of crypto anything. So I really have my head in the sand. Okay, Suhail, great question here. What do I think about the productivity niche as an affiliate site? Will I be building a separate site for my productivity course or just using YouTube for traffic? So the productivity niche is probably a really tough one. I think if you were developing one as an affiliate site, you may struggle a little bit, like finding enough products and having. Oh, you know what? I never even looked for products, so maybe there's a bunch out there, but I would imagine there's not like a direct product related to productivity. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of information products that may be out there, but it would be tough in general. I think if you did like productivity for X type of user, then you'd have better luck. Will I be building a separate site for my productivity course? Not at this time. In the interest of execution, I'm going to house it at my and serve up the course from Five Figure Niche site. And as far as traffic, I have, my normal marketing methods. Okay, and Wesley says something about Bitcoin. Great. Any other productivity things out there? Okay, again, if you're interested in more productivity stuff, the pilot course is coming out next Monday. I'm only allowing a few people in just in general. Again, it will be very, very, I guess you'll be working close with me, right? So again, I'm honing the material. I've been working through the material for over a year or so, and it's good. But you only get the best feedback when you actually have other people using it, executing, and then I can figure out, where I need to tweak it, any gaps that are out there. So that's really important to me. That's why it's going to be a small number of people, and then there were think there will be 4, right? There'll be 4 live sessions where I go over material, and there'll be very a short Q&A at the end on that material, right? So if you're in the productivity course, I'm not going to answer questions about affiliate marketing. Just doesn't make sense. Plus, there will be people in there that don't do affiliate marketing, and they're only interested in the productivity. Additionally, there'll be like a straight up Q&A for the pilot students. And of course, as a pilot member, you'll be able to take advantage of all the additional material that I add to the course later on. So, okay. And then Yuda says how to manage sleep for more productivity. Basically, sleep more. Like if you could manage it, right? Sleep more. It'll definitely help. If you think you only need 6 hours a night, like try to add like an hour or two additional sleep and you'll feel much better. I could run on 6 hours a night, but it runs me down. I'll tend to get sick more often and that sort of stuff. Suhail says, how will we have access to you through the course? It'll be via email. And of course, like I mentioned, there will be live webinar sessions just for the students. So there will be interaction there. There's going to be 4 sessions where I'm mainly presenting material. There will be 1 session where it's straight up Q&A, and there will be email support. That is the method, right? So email support. Someone is asking about my sites. So that's cool. So any of the questions, any of the general questions you have, ask them on like in the comments. And then Suhail says, will I be looking at people's projects individually? Yes, actually I will. So that is part of it. I will look at, I mean, you can't give me like 8 projects that you're working on say, how do I do all of them at the same time? It's going to be choosing one project, executing that, and completing it. So that is a lot more about it. Okay. So let's see. Another question about the course in January. Here, I will send you the link and you can sign up for the email list. Are you on the email list already? And that'll give you a lot of information. It basically teaches you all about starting an Amazon affiliate site. All right. So yeah, that is one of the cool things in the pilot course. I will be able to have a look at people's individual projects, whatever your main focus is going to be in working through the material. And the reason why, right? The reason why I'm saying, you have to pick something to work on. You have to pick something to work on to through the material, so you learn the methods of like being productive in an effective way, not being busy, being a little bit less stressed out. Like that's the goal. Like I don't want to teach a course. I don't want to teach a course that's going to stress people out more. So the idea is to make people less stressed out, get more like important things done. And Sue, let's see, Lachey says, you wouldn't mind looking at projects if they were affiliate marketing. I know you said it's not an affiliate course. Right. Lachey, I see what you're getting at. Basically, it's very easy for me to segment like the productivity piece from the affiliate part. Sure, there could be some overlap, but if you actually like needed help, see, the thing is, in 5-Figure Niche Site, you get a huge amount of access to me via email support. For the productivity course, it's pretty hard to ask affiliate marketing questions in the frame of productivity. So I see what you're getting at. If it falls apart and people are tricking me and trying to take advantage of me, then I'll scale it back. Okay. And Suhail is saying that you're on the list, but there's not info about the course. Okay. So I love it that people are so pumped about the course. So here's the thing. Since the course isn't for sale right now, I'm not talking about it very much. As it gets closer, I'll be talking about it all the time. The productivity course is next week, and that's why I'm talking about that today. So the course in January teaches you how to build an Amazon affiliate site. It's awesome. There are people on this right now that have taken the course. They like it. And is there any chance of getting in before January? No, there's zero chance. But if you really need the information, right, you could buy other courses from other people. If you like me, then you'll probably want to wait until January. But there's a couple people, my competitors, right? They teach things differently. I think my way's better. I think I use project management in a way that other people can't because I'm a PMP. But basically, if you say you need it now, then it sounds like you're in a rush. I'm probably not the right person for you. You can go to another marketer out there. And okay, so it looks like all the meaningful questions are through as far as productivity. Any more? Oh, Lachey, thanks. So Lachey puts a great testimonial here. So you pretty much made your first dollar on Amazon from my free content and one coaching session, which is cool because Lachey, if I remember right, you bought someone else's course, right? But my free content's pretty darn good. Okay. Any other productivity questions out there? Cool. All right. And just to recap, since it's a nice compliment from Lachey, I'm going to just mention it again. So Lachey says, I made my first dollar on Amazon for my free content and one coaching session. Lachey was enrolled in some other course, one of my competitors' courses. So that's a great compliment. Really appreciate it. All right, cool. Thanks for hanging on today. And Friday, for all the people that were asking random unrelated questions, Friday is the day. It'll be 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So I will actually schedule it and you can ask questions in there. I'll answer random questions, right? So cool. All right, I'm out of here. Everyone have a great day and we'll talk soon. Thanks.